There's a lot of good subject matter in this video because we're now going from the signature video, which I did years back and just brought it to light. Of course, we weren't using boards like that then, so now there's probably a lot more visual and easier to understand in instruction. But when we look at even the word allograph, you understand that the legal system is based on the concept that an individual, which was defined in a previous law dictionary of the Canadian law. They took it out of the current one, but it was in the previous edition prior to that, the fourth and the third. It defined that the seventh definition of basically an individual was not a member of a family. And that's only a concept of the fictio, or the fiction, or the legal surname, agnomen or cognomen, we call it, the debtor, a debtor, of a legal collective. So it's from the civil system. So certainly, why would they say that an individual could be not a member of a family when everybody would say, oh, you have to be a member of a family? Because people are taking it down this idea of a natural family definition word, but that's not the meaning in the English language. Our meaning of family in the English language goes back to the original Roman meaning of family, which dealt with the top master to the lowest servant or slave in the household. It had nothing to do with what you would think is a family today, with your immediate mother, father, or children, or what you call your relatives. So when we're dealing with an allograph, a lot of this will kind of make sense when you join the dots, because Jesus said you had to forsake all in order to be his disciple. He says you had to lose your life. He was talking about the civil position and title you had, the secular material possessiveness that you once were engaged in order to gain your life spiritually. You can't be spiritual and secular at the same time. You can't be private and public at the same time. That's a merger when you do that. So you become involved in what goes contrary to what God is, because God is not a God of confusion. In the legal world, merger means confusion. It means joining two things together that don't belong. So when you look at forsaking all, and then you see that there's this term allograph, and we're going to read out of Black's Law 4th edition. It says, a writing or signature made for a person by another, opposed autograph. So that clearly would make sense when we're really looking at these certificates, because these certificates certainly have a signature that's written in advance because these come out usually when someone's a minor, and then the parents are carrying them around and trying to stand in place instead for it. But technically, the state is really the parent's patre, and because they're directing you down bad faith under what we did in the video on sponsor, which is these are legal gossipers, it's just hearsay. You're really not part of their system. You're not born a citizen in an illegal citizenship, because children can't contract, and legal citizenship comes with duties, debts, and obligations. So the beginning of it would be invalid, and therefore you'd be an invalid requiring a guardian, so they have to have guardians in place. There's a lot to what I just said. You can slow it down, take notes on it, but when we're dealing with allograph, this is technically in advance signatures that were written for this legal entity that they're trying to put forward. When you sign, you've taken them off of it, and that can only happen at age of election at 18. So the first time you start filing directly with full responsibility leads to the problem, and you've taken them off the responsibility of this, and therefore they're holding you responsible for anything associated with this. So if it's involved in any kind of duties, debts, obligations, borrowing money, anything like that, you basically have unknowingly become a guarantor for a stranger, or a surety for a stranger, which has been warned about in the book of Proverbs. So allograph, having the word all in it, that also comes up in Black's Law 4th, and you can check that out for yourself. And it refers to an individual, in his pure sense, not a member of a family, being subsumed into the collective or the aggregate of society. So when you're participating in the legal system with your own signature, consent, picture, you have now said, I will be a surety for my part of the whole fiction and fraud and title that is really not mine, but belongs to a foreign entity. We'll just call him Satan, and he's an occultist, and he cultivates with his legal Pharisees who run all these government departments. He basically cultivates lies. He's the father of the lies, so of course he'd put a spell over you and control you by a spell. So he casts evil spells on you. And therefore, it's over your head, and it's an overhead, and it becomes a burden. And that's what Scripture said when Jesus was condemning the lawyers at his time, or the Pharisees. He said they place burdens upon the collective, or the people, that they themselves do not carry. So look up the word last, and you'll find out in Black's Law again that the word last, it comes out with the word burden. So if you're using it, you have the burden of proof upon you to prove you have right to it. But if you don't, well, they just hope they can rob your bank account back out because you took from the public, and it's not your money anyways, and they'll just collect it back like taking candy from a baby. And that's what they do in this. So the legal collective signatures or signing authorities on the birth certificate literally are, in essence, an allograph. Not hard to understand. Take the time. These are really important videos. Haven't clarified these in years, and I know sometimes it's hard to hit the right video going back 630 odd back. We're dealing with more of a summary now, and I know there's a lot of new subscribers and people coming on there, and they won't probably have to go through all 630 videos, I would hope. So the light got brighter, and we're closer to the end on this. Be patient, because when you lack patience, you're becoming impatient, and that's really, I'm patient. You want to be with patience, then you'll be the healer. You need to slow down. You need to take the time on these things, because the answers are now becoming in front of you, and this is leading to peaceful activity. You're now not going to be involved in any controversy with the state, and Caesar will look after Caesar's own property and his title.